Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one I'd like to take a look at the many different Jirachis of GLC. As always, let me know what you think down below. If you have any suggestions, of course, for Pokemon to cover in the series, then, do let me know down below. Do have a few more Pokemon to cover from previous suggestions, so if I don't get around to your suggestion immediately, then that's why. I'm trying not to do this, like, weekly, but I would like to do it, more frequently than I'm doing these videos currently. So, hoping to do more of them, I guess, frequently. But yeah. For today's video, however, we're going to look at Jirachi. So, what is GLC? For those of you who need a quick recap or are not sure what it is, it's a single prize only Pokemon format, so no rule boxes allowed, which means no V Stars, no V Max, no GX Pokemon, no Radiance, etc. So, basically anything that costs 2 prize or more or has like a weird text box, effectively. It is singleton, except basic energy. So, if we could only play one basic energy, that would be pretty brutal. But yeah, it is singleton. Only one type per deck, so that does mean that the evolutions are sadly unplayable, which is, yeah, probably my biggest gripe with GLC right now, is the weird typing thing. Is if you've seen like the Lucario video, depending on when Jirachi video goes up, you'll know what I mean with like how the fact that if a Pokemon has, for say, like a Riolu that is fighting type, then you can't play Metal Lucario because there's no Metal type Riolu. So, that's kind of annoying, but still, only one type per deck. But yeah, the first Jirachi we can take a look at today, one from XY Promo 195 and the other one XY 112. The exact same card, but just rarity differences in terms of artwork, which is quite cool. Sadly, I think the best thing I can say about this card really is the amazing art on both of these. I think both the arts are great. Even the first art on the left here is really good. The second art is, of course, it's a full art. It looks great, but yeah, sadly, Iron Head isn't the greatest attack in the world, and then Pregonitive, is that how I pronounce it? Pregonitive Dream says, draw 3 cards, and then this Pokemon is now asleep. So, not the greatest, and as you'll see throughout this video, there's a lot of Jirachis that either have a fantastic ability or a great first attack. This sadly is not one of them. It's not the worst Jirachi in the world though, so if you're just getting started in GLC, or maybe you really, really like this Jirachi for some reason, compared to like maybe all the others, for example, then it's not strictly the worst GLC card in the world. You can get away with playing a couple of cards that maybe are just to your own liking. And you can, I guess, manipulate Ironhead with coin flip cards and stuff. But at the end of the day, this Jirachi is nothing special. It's cool though. Like the artwork is amazing, of course, but yeah, not a particularly great card. Next up though is we have Jirachi XY67 and XY67A. So this Jirachi has 2 really cool attacks, Stardust and Dream Dance. Dream Dance just says both active Pokemon are now asleep and does 20 damage, which can be quite nice and a bit annoying actually. You just burn your opponents to sleep and then you put a stadium in play. Things like Slumbering Forest that increase the odds of your opponent staying asleep could be quite nasty and hard to deal with. So Dream Dance, always welcome. Then Stardust does 10 damage and you discard a special energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. If you do, prevent all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon, during your opponent's next turn, which is a very potent and very annoying attack if timed correctly. So, yeah, I think this card is honestly a bit better than the previous one. Stardust is, of course, a fantastic attack against Colorless GLC decks mainly. There's not too many types that play loads of special energy, but in all honesty, I think it's worth it. Stardust, just getting it off at least once in a game. 60 HP is also quite nice for things like Alm's Lecture, which is always a plus. But either way, I still think this Jirachi is pretty good. It's not the best Jirachi by a stretch, I would say. It's maybe top 3. But either way, Stardust is still a very, very good attack in GLC. It's just, your opponent can still gust around it. There will be games where it's not super relevant. But either way, also 10 damage isn't great, but it's still going to buy you a turn. So, not the worst Jirachi in the world, but yeah, not like amazing either. Next up though is we have the Jirachi from Roaring Skies, which is probably my favorite Jirachi, to be honest. Has 2 really cool Desire attacks. The first one says look at the top 7 cards of your deck and put one of them into your hand, shove the other cards back into your deck. And then the second attack for a Metal Colorless energy says discard all energy attached to this Pokemon. The defending Pokemon is KO'd out at the end of your opponent's next turn. So that's pretty cool, but sadly, this Jirachi is a wee bit outclassed just by the fact that Doom Desire isn't really providing you with a whole ton of guaranteed value. Like your opponent can retreat, they can play a switch card, and every Pokemon in GLC is only giving up one prize, so you're not really prize trading effectively with this guy. And probably Jirachi will get KO'd at the end of your opponent's next turn either way. So it's not like super relevant. It's okay for getting rid of stuff like Wailord or Torterra, I guess. Like big tanky GLC Pokemon. It's good then. But at the end of the day, it is a one prize trade off and you have to put 2 energy on it to do it. So yeah, it just feels a wee bit bad. And Diminutive Desire is a great attack. You can find things like Special Energy in stadiums, which can be tricky to track down, which is very cool. But at the end of the day, there is just better Jirachi options. Again, not the worst Jirachi by any stretch of imagination. And one thing that I really do like about this Jirachi is that it's not a promo, unlike so many of the other Jirachis. So, you can just play it regularly from a set, which is cool. There is some more Jirachis that are not promos, but, being from a set just helps a lot. And, it's a cool set anyway, Roaring Skies for GLC. So, yeah, it's a plus side. But yeah, Diminutive Desire, pretty good attack. Doom Desire can be good, but just a bit weird, really, because it gets outclassed by some other stuff. So that is Jirachi from Roaring Skies. Next up is we have Jirachi from XY Generations. Has a really good first attack, and it's also a Psychic Jirachi, which is worth mentioning. Has the attack Wish and Heart Sign. Heart Sign isn't super relevant, only doing 50 damage, but I guess in a pinch, if you have to use it, then it's 50 damage. It's a bit more than most of the other Jirachis will be doing. It does have the attack Wish. It says search your deck for any one card and put it into your hand. So the problem with this is, of course, the opponent can play a Marnie or an N or an Iono. They can play all of those cards, which is pretty annoying. And you do have to kind of get this out on the first few turns of the game. Otherwise, it's probably not going to be super relevant because it's just going to get, KO'd immediately, if not turn 2, turn 3 at the latest, really. So that is a wee bit of a concern. I think it is worth it in some situations, and maybe this is one of the better Psychic Jirachis, but truth be told, aside from the, once again, amazing artwork, I would say this Jirachi is probably not worth it in the long run. Wish can be a really good attack, but at the same time, you have to get out earlier on. You have to be pulling this attack out, otherwise it's just feeling a bit bad, having to spend an attack to search out one card when your hand can get disrupted or this Pokemon will get killed and then you've just lost a prize card. So yeah, not really feeling super great about this strategy, but again, not the worst one here. Next up though is we have one from Shining Legends, and it does have a really cool attack as well as some lovely artwork here. Stellar Rain for 1 Psych Energy does 10 damage, and if your opponent's active Pokemon is an evolved Pokemon, de-evolve it by putting all of the evolution cards on it into your opponent's hand. So what's really interesting about this is that most de-evolving effects in GLC, or at least de-evolving Pokemon in general really, just say put the top card, not all of them. This removes all of them. And in GLC typically, you can use Rare Candy, but most players, what they end up doing is just evolving via the stage 1 anyway, because it makes sense if you're playing the stage 1 to just go basic, find the stage 1, then find the stage 2, especially if the middle evolution has a useful ability like Machoke, for example. So, having that option is really nice. And so being able to Stellar Rain, removing both the stage 1 and the stage 2, very potent, could be very devastating. And you're also effectively just resetting that stage 2 at the end of the day. Of course, you're only doing 10 damage, which is, usually with these effects, on the Aerodactyl from 151, you're doing 80 or 100 damage, I think. So you can KO these evolving basics, so you effectively can get a 1 KO on a stage 2. Stellar Rain's not doing that, you're only doing 10 damage, and then you're essentially stalling your opponent out by a few turns. But that could still be super relevant. You could do this, and then maybe your opponent has to switch out or force up a new attacker, then maybe you could chase down their Turtwig or whatever. I use Torterra as an example a lot because the middle evolution, what's it called? What's Torterra's middle evolution? Grottle, that's the one. Grottle has a really good ability. Torterra's super tanky, so yeah. Torterra gets used a lot as an example, but either way, I still think Stellar Rain's a really good attack. And honestly, this is probably the best Psychic Jirachi that we have, actually. Yeah, come to think of it, because I don't think the Wish one is very good, so yeah, Stellar Rain, probably the best Psychic Jirachi option we have, which is cool. Next up, though, is we have what is undisputedly going to be the best Jirachi, I think. This is easily the best one. You'll struggle to find someone who disagrees with this, unless you're playing a basic metal Pokemon, or stage 1, stage 2 deck that's exclusively not playing abilities for whatever reason. But yeah, this Jirachi with the ability Stellar Wish says, once in your turn, If this Pokemon is in your active spot, you may look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal a trainer card. If you do, this Pokemon is now asleep. So, yeah, it's a very, very powerful ability. Slap is, of course, not doing anything. 30 damage is whatever, but look at the top 5 cards, take a trainer card. It's just straight up better than all the other abilities and attacks, really, that Jirachi can offer in GLC. So, yeah, amazing ability. It does have the rarity upgrade in the form of a previous promo, which is quite nice, but honestly, I think the OG artwork is, in my opinion, a bit better, actually. I love the moon. The fact that Jirachi is actually just sleeping on the moon, it's really cool. But yeah, either way, very, very cool card. Very, very powerful. Was very, very playable as well, actually, so hopefully these guys are a bit easier to track down now, and they're like, not even half, I would have thought, of their original value. That might not be true, though. You have to double check that, but either way, this Jirachi, absolutely hands down the best one for GLC. Next up, though, is we have Vivid Voltage, which is arguably the most interesting and unique Jirachi that we have. Has the ability Dreamer Revelation, which says once your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active Pokemon, the active Pokemon is in the active Pokemon? Wait, that's not a thing. Is in the active spot, you may look at the top 2 cards of your deck and put one of them into your hand, then put the other card back on top of your deck. So that's quite nice. It means you get to see what card you're drawing next turn, as well as take an extra card this turn, which is always cool. Then it does have the attack Amazing Star, which is a super niche attack, and you're only ever using this if you play a bunch of other basic energy or special energy. And for a Psychic Fighting Metal, Amazing Star says, search your deck for up to 7 basic energy cards and attach them to your Pokemon any way you like. So this attack will set you up for the rest of the game, pretty much, but the fact that you need a Psychic Fighting Metal in order to pull it off, how are you even doing that? I guess Bronzong pays for 1 metal energy, and then you have to luminous energy, and then maybe not even luminous, unit or aurora energy, plus a rainbow or something, I guess, for the psychic fighting. Unless you're playing a deck that I'm not sure actually. Is there any metal Pokemon that also needs psychic and fighting energy? Don't think there is, but maybe if we ever get a few more in the future, it could be cool. But it's just the fact that you need 3 energy, 3 awkward energy actually, that to use an attack that can accelerate 7 basic energy. It kind of defeats the purpose in a way, because you have to pay all those energy just to get 7 more on the deck. It's probably easier just to accelerate 7 energy with a Magnezone. But either way, it's a cool attack, and Dream Revelation is pretty good. So it's by far not the worst Jirachi, but again, just a wee bit weaker than the one we've seen previously. Next up, though, is we have the last Jirachi, funnily enough, and that is going to be the one from Paradox Rift. It does have the very powerful ability Stellar Veil, which prevents all damage counters from being placed on your benched Pokemon by effects of attacks used by your opponent's basic Pokemon. So very much an anti-Sableye kind of guy, which is very cool. Sableye is quite annoying in GLC sometimes, but at the end of the day, it's not a super great card. Charge Energy just isn't a great attack either, so yeah, this Jirachi honestly might be one of the worst ones, to be fair. It's cool, it is very cool and unique, but it's also hyper niche. And in GLC, it's in that weird spot where you want things that are niche in GLC to act as counters, and you do have the deck space for it sometimes, but more often than not as well, you won't have the deck space, especially not when there are so many better options. These Jirachis are just straight up better, really. So yeah, Stellar Veil Jirachi, not super great. But yeah, thank you for watching. I do a new set review for GLC with each new release, so subscribe if you're interested in being updated in GLC. I try and make other GLC videos, but it is difficult to come up with content sometimes without involving IRL. I am hoping to do IRL content at some point in the future. Not anytime soon, just sometime in the future. It would be cool to do deck profiles IRL as well as gameplay, of course, but it's harder than it sounds to set up. Get another player, get 2 GLC decks built, get a camera and microphone set up, all the rest of it. It is a lot more difficult, than it looks. So yeah. Also, if you want to dive into the competitive side, Omnipoke and the format creator Trickagym both have done fantastic videos and guides for each type. So if you just want a more competitive general look on GLC, then be sure to check out those resources. But yeah, either way, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think down below. Is there any other Pokemon that you'd like to see in this series? And yeah, thank you for watching.